everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my channel. As you might be able to tell, this week we are continuing on with the Cinderella project, the 1838 version of Cinderella's pink mousemaid dress. And I am fairly determined that I'm going to finish it this week. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. We can do it. What I'm going to do first, because there's really not that much left to do, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to attach the ruffle to the bottom of the skirt. So I know right now we're obviously totally out of frame on the bottom of the skirt on Antoinette, but just to remind you, this was my original drawing right here. So we've got this white ruffle going all the way around the bottom with the pink swags with the bows on it. So the white ruffle is actually already completed. I think I did this, I want to say like during the second week of this vlog. I will link to a playlist of all of the Cinderella project vlogs down in the description below. So anyway, all that I have to do with this is just to put it around to the bottom of the skirt. I might serge the top. It's going to be covered with the pink swag, so like I'm not too worried about it, but I might still serge the top to finish it now that I've already ruffled it with my ruffler foot. But I'm going to measure the width of this and measure where that is on the skirt, probably leaving it so that there's maybe a ½ inch of this sticking down below the bottom of the skirt, just so I don't have a chance of any of the pink peeking out. And I'm going to draw a mark around with the friction pen of where the top of this needs to go. Again, that's going to get covered by the light pink swag, so I don't even really care if that friction pen shows because it's going to be covered. And then I'm just going to stitch this all down by machine. That's going to be the first thing. Once that's done, then I can turn my attention to the pink swags and to the bows. But let's get sewing. And this is what it looks like with the ruffle. I definitely think that it really helps to add to that Cinderella pink dress look, kind of separating it out from an Aurora look that was kind of going on before. So definitely worth it to add that ruffle. Now it is time to add the pink swag that goes at the top of the ruffle. That's why I didn't worry about finishing off the top. I did wind up serging the top here, but I didn't, you know, turn in the edges or anything like that on the top because that's all going to be covered by the swag. So for the swag, I was trying to decide a couple of things. One, I was first trying to decide whether I should have one layer with hems turned on either side and then just have like the back as the back, or if I should do the whole thing kind of on the fold and have one seam and have it 2 layers. And ultimately I decided that I needed to do this second route with the both like the nice sides showing on both sides, because there's such a difference between the back side of this fabric and the inside that when it swags, if it were to fall over the side and you would see the other, it'd be really, really obvious. So that was the first thing I decided. I am going to make it, I believe, 9 inches wide so that it will wind up with a 4-inch wide swag after the seam allowance is taken out. The other thing I was trying to figure out was whether or not that should go across like this, or whether it should go with the grain like this. And I feel like it's just not falling right as a swag like this. It's really just like folding, whereas this side is draping. Because if you've ever played with fabric before, they actually do have a different drape depending on if it's with the grain or across the grain. And in this case, across the grain is definitely giving me the drape that I want. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut probably 4 strips that are 9 inches wide each going across the grain. I did rip this on the grain up here at the top, but ultimately I don't think it's going to work for every strip. So I'm just going to measure down 9 inches from that because it's just doing kind of weird things at the top. I don't know, it would make it so much easier if I could just rip. We'll see, maybe I'll rip. And I'm going to join those together and seam up the one side and then turn that tube, which is going to be a pain in the butt, but hopefully it'll be worth it. So a quick tip on how I press the seams and stuff on this tube. This is the inside of that light pink swag. So I've already seamed up the seam, sewn up the seam, and right now I'm pressing this open, but I don't want to press like here or here. I just want to press this open. So I'm doing this on my sleeve board here, and this side is going off the edge of the sleeve board so that it's not getting pressed in anything. And then I'm just making sure that my iron doesn't reach to here. So I'm using kind of the point of my iron or the side of my iron to get this ironed open. Once I've done all of this seam pressed open, then I'm going to turn it right side out. and I'm going to center this seam really kind of where it is right now, but inside, so that I will have folds here and I will press those, but I don't want to press them inside out. I want to press them right side out. So I'm going to keep pressing. So normally for a thin tube, I would use one of my tube turners, but this one is kind of a wide enough tube for me to kind of reach inside. So I reached inside for a while and was pulling it down that way, like from one end. And then I decided, well, you know what? It's also kind of big enough for me to just shove the rest of the fabric in there. So that's what I've done now. So it has all of the fabric in there, and I'm just going to try something because I tried it like one little time and it seemed to work, which is just to take this end and just like shake it. Because it's kind of got weight down here at the bottom where it's like getting squidged, and every so often I think that I'll probably just have to pull it a little bit from down here so that it doesn't get all shoved up there, and then I can just like shake it again, I think. This is actually kind of working. So if you are turning a tube that is this wide, as in too wide for a tube turner, now, okay, what I should have done, if I had been thinking ahead, there is a method to turn tubes where you kind of like sew a long thread, ribbon, piece of yarn, etc. inside the tube, and it's connected to one end, and then you can just pull that through the tube. That would have been the smartest option here. But I didn't remember that until after I was pressing the seam open, so that wasn't gonna happen. So just kind of reaching in and pulling bits out and then shaking some more. Seems to be at least more fun, if not maybe more practical. This is also honestly a lot longer than I'm actually going to need for this, because my skirt is 3 widths across on the fabric, and this one is 4. I needed a little bit of excess so that I can make it swag like that, but I wasn't sure how much excess that was going to take up, and so I just did 4, and I will cut off the excess once it gets back around. But kind of my theory is once I pull this out and then press it flat, is that I'm going to secure it every however many inches. I'll measure it and figure it out. Maybe, I don't know, 15 to 20 inches. I will secure this, and that secured spot each spot will have a bow on top of it. But in the middle, I don't think I'm actually going to secure it. Maybe I'll do like one tack stitch kind of at the bottom of each swag. But yeah, that's my plan. I don't know that this is really doing it. It's so long that I can't actually shake it all the way out because my arms aren't long enough for that. So I might have to go ahead and pull the rest of it out this way. Probably wasn't the best solution, but I mean, you kind of get your aggression out and you just have a little fun playing with this weirdly long tube of fabric. So I'm having a bit of a dilemma. I had started to pin on the 4-inch folded swag to the skirt, and I was just kind of, you know, bunching up every little bit just to see what it would look like, and it just looked kind of lackluster, like it wasn't much of a swag at all. So I took the other end, since I told you it was too long, I knew it was going to be too long. I took the other end and I just undid about 25 inches of that center seam just to see what would happen if it was the full like 9 inches wide and then just turn at the hems. And I don't know, do I like that better? I'm really not sure. Part of me thinks maybe yes, and the other part thinks maybe it's too full. I'm not really sure, but this is how the two compare. And I think maybe I just need to go think on it for a little bit, like go take Lion for a walk and think on it, maybe get my mom's opinion or some of my other friends on CostTube, and maybe I'll post it to my Patreon, see how you guys think. By the way, if you're interested in joining my Patreon, I will have a link to that down in the description below, and you can help me make these sorts of decisions as I go. I just don't know. So it's been a couple of hours. I stuck a poll about the skirt flounce. Why can't I never think of that name? The skirt thing on Patreon, and I've also asked a few of my costuming friends, and almost everyone has said to go with the wider. And I think my one hesitation is that I am really liking the drape of the double layer better than the drape of the wide. I think it's almost maybe too like loose looking on the wide one, probably because it doesn't have that double layer. And so that is my one hesitation. So I think I'm going to continue to hesitate on it for a little bit longer and start making bows instead, because also if I make a few bows and I stick them around the bottom of the skirt where it's still the big question mark, then I think it will better help me to see that like final visual thing. So that means it is time to start making some bows. So my plan for the bows is that they are going to be the kind that have like a little poof part on top and then little tails at the bottom. I'm not really positive the best way to go about doing this. I mean, like, the best way would probably be ribbon, but I'm not doing that. I'm doing fabric bows. So the problem is that when you're talking about tails and fabric bows, it starts to be a lot of work. So it's like, how are you going to finish a tails and all that stuff? But I think I want tails. I don't know. That might be another question mark. Maybe I should make the poof part of the bow and put it into place, pin it there, then decide if I want tails, and also decide how I want the little swag to go. Swag, that's the word. Yeah, so many question marks. Shouldn't this be almost done by now? Yes, it should, because I'm taking pictures of it this weekend. Today is Tuesday night. I am taking pictures of this on either Friday or Saturday, so this needs to get done. So while trying to figure out the swags, I made the bows, but I have been having bow indecision too. So I don't know why, but I started out with this bow. Or actually, I started out with a bow for up here, but it wasn't this bow. It was a single layer bow. This is a double layer bow. And just meaning that like, oh, it's not obviously attached yet. Just meaning that like a single layer bow is just one rectangle of fabric basically that's pinched in the middle, whereas this is a really, really long strip rectangle of fabric that's joined together at the ends underneath the wrap part, which I haven't done the wrap part yet. This is just stand-in ribbon, but this is what I've come up with for the center. The other one was just too flat. So then I made this one. This was 22 inches long by 12 inches wide and made into this bow right here. And then I made these strips right here, which this is just a long strip. It's 4.5 inches wide and it was like 13 inches long, I think, both of these. Each of them are separate. And I just made the strips like a tube and then turned the seam so that it was right here in the middle of the back, and did this and then turned it right side out and pressed it. So it's just a little square at the bottom. And again, that's all just pinned in place, but I think I like the placement of that. I think that's really, really cute. I have not yet tried, by the way, to get this stain out with some of your recommendations, but I think I'm gonna try. I don't really have a test piece I can try, but a few of you recommended Windex, which seems weird to me. I don't know, I might try it. Otherwise I might make a white bow, just stick a little white bow on there. We shall see. Anyway, so that is that bow. And then the bow that I had originally made for here, I then took down to the skirt and then I shortened it. So these bows down here, this is the bow that was up at the top. So this is what I mean by a single layer bow. Like it's literally just a square of fabric, rectangle fabric. And I forget how much I chopped off of it. I think it was like 3 or 4 inches, but basically it wound up being almost 8 inches across on one side. So yeah, so then I made this bow, but then I wasn't sure if I liked the flat bow down here or if I wanted one of the double layer bows. So I made a double layer bow over here. This one is 17 inches long and 12 inches wide, just like the one up top. And yeah, I like that one better. But what I'm still trying to decide is the single swag or the double folded swag, which is the narrow swag. I think I'm leaning towards this. All of you basically have voted. Everyone who has voted for this one, but I'm just indecisive and I wanted to see what it looked like with bows. So that's what it looks like with bows. I like the distance that the bows are from each other as well. I haven't measured it yet, but I do like that distance. So I think I'm gonna make a whole bunch more of those bows, the 17-inch long double fold bows, and make a whole bunch of them. Like when I first did my math, I needed 9, but I'm gonna redo my math. 9 would be spaced 19 inches apart from each other, I believe. So I'm gonna do my math again, see if I'm still at 19 inches, and make, I guess, like 8 more of those or something, and then decide on the swag. The swag's gonna wind up being tomorrow though, because it is already basically bedtime, but I wanna make more bows. So I just feel that it needs to be said that this dress was made by Cinderella's animal friends, of course, in the movie, and my animal friends are being completely unhelpful. They haven't even, like, done a single stitch, not trimmed anything, not hemmed my dress, nothing. Come on, Lion and Dora, what's going on with you guys? Well, I guess I should give Lion his snake back, since that's why he's actually been looking at the camera. Anyway, I went and now we're gonna get jingling. I went and I measured the distance between these two bows that I like to so much. It's very much not 19 inches. It's actually about 12 inches. So I did the math, and if I do 12.25 inches apart between bows, that is 14 bows. So I have a lot of bow making to do. So I have managed to cut out all of my pieces for the bows. I still need to cut out some of the centers, but I have cut a few strips for centers, and I did accidentally cut one extra square for the bows. But that said, even including that square, this is how much of the light pink fabric I have left. So I could have done 15 bows, have that, but otherwise it's just this, and some of this is going to go to the middle strips as well, because I'm pretty sure I have not cut out enough strips to do those yet. So it's really a good thing that I didn't go and cut like a second thing for the swag for the back side. Like I was kind of thinking, oh, this might be better if I make it wide and do the back side so it's double-sided. No, I wouldn't have had enough fabric, and that would have been really bad. So yeah, I'm going to decide about that swag tomorrow. I'm also going to make these 13 bows tomorrow, and yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of it. I have to do the swag, I have to do the bows, I have to put everything on the dress, obviously, but that's it. Oh, and I'm hoping that I can either find at Joann's little bluebirds as like props, or that I have one bird, so I can paint him blue. He's yellow currently. And I also am hoping that maybe I'll have time to make her beaded green necklace. So we shall see, but good night. So let's talk about how to make these bows. The first thing you do is you take your rectangle here and you fold this hot dog style like this and sew along this seam. That was right sides together, by the way. Then you take this and you put it on your sleeve board like so, and you press the seam open right here. Then you turn it right side out, so the right side is facing out, and you want your seam to be just about centered within this tube, and you're going to press from the outside on the seam. Then you're going to press these corners so that the corners are basically flat. I have not been pressing the whole thing for this. You could, but I kind of like the look of the puffier bow. So I'm just pressing the corners because this is going to be fed under the serger. Both ends are fed under the serger to finish off those ends. Once it's serged, you're going to take this and fold it over like so, though honestly it doesn't matter what side your seam is on because it doesn't matter which side this seam winds up on. Like if it's an exterior or interior seam, it won't matter because it's covered by the little tube that goes around the inside of the bow. And we are going to do a seam on the sewing machine right here. Then you're going to press this seam open and trim off any threads and such, and then we'll go and we'll make the center of the bow. So for the center piece, we're going to take one of our strips, which I just cut these like the length that I had scraps, but they're 3 inches wide, and we are going to take these and fold them hot dog style and do a seam about like 3/8 of an inch away from this edge, right sides together on the fold. Then we're going to take one of our handy dandy fast tube turns, put it inside the tube, and this little bit has this little curved wire at the end, and we're going to hook that into the side seam here and pull that through. Then we're going to press this flat so that the seam is approximately right here in the center of the back. It doesn't really matter, like pressing it open, whatever, it really doesn't matter. But we're just gonna press it so that that is all nice and flat, kind of looks like a double-sided ribbon. Now, I have not yet determined what length is needed for this to go around this, so I am just going to pinch this together, wrap this around the full length, and find that out. It looks like, including seam allowance, I need approximately 4 inches. So I'm going to cut this into 4-inch pieces and serge each of those ends and then sew the ends together so that it makes a little loop. So you want to do this so that it is right sides together, by the way. That way the seam winds up on the inside. When you turn it, right side out. So now it is turned right side out. You can see the seam there in the center, and we are going to attempt to get our bow inside this tiny loop, and I'm hoping that I did not make these too small. So let's see, you just want to squish up one end. You can redistribute later, but squish it up and try to get it through, and I'm worried I made this too small. Let's see, can we do it? 4 inches might be too small, which sucks because I already cut 3 of these. The key is that you want your seam from the large part of the bow to be inside. So I was kind of having a little bit of issues with slippage where it was slipping out, because if it slips out, then you can see it and you don't want that. But I think overall the 4-inch does kind of work. I think for the next ones, I'll probably cut them maybe about 4.5 inches, but ta-da! We have our super, super cute bow. So yeah, it's a little tight in the center, but not by a lot. So I think we'll just go with 4.5 inches, give that tiny bit of extra room. This is what the back side looks like. And then the front side, it's very cute. You could even like stick one in your hair. Maybe I'll make that one that I already cut out. Maybe I'll make an extra and make it as a hair bow. But yeah, very, very cute. So I am going to go make 12 more of these now, plus 13 centers, and make all these bows, and then figure out how to attach them to the dress. Well, I put all of the bows together, but I think someone got a little tired. Look at her in that bow pile. She's so cute. So I'm trying to figure out if I've gone wrong again. I know, right? Because I have the wide version here, so it's the single layer version. But I sewed it on right here to the pink underneath, just like flat. And I feel like that was a mistake because obviously now, I mean, it's the same width across here as it is down here. And so like if I pull these apart, then it winds up not being drape at all because it winds up being flat. Duh. I don't know why I didn't think about that, and I don't know how to fix that. But like, does it matter? Because the skirt does kind of want to fall in folds like that. And so then it will look drapey until I move and it shifts. I don't know, and I need to finish this like stat. All the bows are just kind of pinned in place, and the pinches of the underneath here are just pinned currently, and I'm just not sure what to do. Because like, I mean, ideally I wanted it to kind of drape on both sides, but it seemed like there was no way for me to do that without the top of the white section showing from underneath. It just wasn't like wide enough. I didn't know how to attach it, etc. And now of course I've gone and I've cut off the one extra panel of the light pink, which like I still have. I could, you know, reattach it, but that would mean undoing all of this and reattaching. And I just don't know what to do to make it better. So it's really frustrating. I also don't know if like, maybe it's just the 12.5 and or 12.25 inches. Maybe that's just too close together, but I feel like it would wind up being the same issue if I spaced it farther. I just don't know. So I'm going to bed. Good night. Lion is making it rather difficult to work right now, but I'm trying to do a test piece. So this is that extra, like the fourth panel of the swag that I had cut off because I didn't need it when I was attaching it flat. And I decided I would gather up the top and pin it in place. Basically, if I have all four of the panels in use, then that means that each of the light pink panels equals 2/3 of one of the dark pink panels. And so I pinned it so that it would take up 2/3 of a panel. Now what I'm going to do, besides pet my dog, is to tuck up sections and see if the swag will work that way. I think it will. I mean, obviously it's not as clean of a line up here, especially right now since it's just pinned, but I think that's going to be the best option once I put those tucks in, you know, just to make sure it looks right, because that way it will give me that excess that I need so that the swags won't be pulled all tightly like they are over here where I've already put it on. And yeah, but it'll be a lot of seam ripping very carefully because this fabric will snag. Sigh. Dora feels my pain, right, Dora? Oh, Dora feels the camera apparently. Hi, Dora. Okay, back to work. So I think it may actually be possible that this is more gathered than I need, but it is definitely helping to create actual swags. So I think I'll probably space it out a little bit, you know, ungather a little bit of that and not go for that like 2/3 to 1 ratio. But yeah, that's definitely looking swaggier. So I guess I'm taking the entire pink flat panel off and redoing it. Lovely. Okay, so a few things have happened. I have redone the ruffle or the swag or whatever it is that I can never think of that word. I've redone it on the base of the skirt. It's out of frame right now so you can't see it. It still needs to have all of the pinch points done, but it is attached. So what I did wind up doing was I put back on that piece that I'd cut off and gathered the full length, and it wound up being the 1 1/3 whatever to, like, that was the ratio that I mentioned before. And so that is all on and it's ready to get its pinch points done and then have the bows added too. I think I'm going to do all of that by hand. Like, I think honestly for those pinch points, I'm just going to kind of wrap thread around it and then like do a little tie off and then tie on the bow just like as I go on each of those spots. I have not yet decided if I do want to keep that original 14 bows around the skirt or if I want to do less than that. I will cross that bridge when I get to it. Second thing that happened was that I did test the spots on the collar. I tried it both with Windex and also with hydrogen peroxide because that was what was recommended to me, and neither of them worked at all. So I am going to attempt to make I'm not going to attempt to make, but I'm going to make 2 little white bows. I've already started them, then I got distracted. And I'm just going to see what that looks like right on the shoulders, like a little below the shoulders. I mean, the like animated Cinderella has those sleeve puffy things that just like stick up right there, like little fins, and maybe the bows can kind of harken to that. We'll see how they look. And then the other thing that happened was that I went to Joann's in order to find turquoise beads and birds and the wide ribbon for the wig headband thing and other things not related to this project. And what I found were 2 strands of turquoise beads when really I needed like 3. No birds at all, except I think they had tiny doves that were like this big. So yeah, that didn't work. And I did get the white ribbon though. Wow, for some reason, 1-inch wide ribbon is really expensive at Joann's. Thank goodness for a 40% off coupon. Anyway, so as you might be able to tell from me talking about it, I have made the necklace. I thought that I was gonna have to go to another Joann's in the next town over tomorrow because they only had the 2 at my local Joann's, but I decided to test it out with little pearls spaced in between each bead, and I think it was a good decision. I feel like it makes it a lot lighter looking because earlier it was looking just very chunky, very modern, very plasticky when I was trying to string it just with all of the turquoise beads, and also I wouldn't have had enough. I would have gotten to like here. And I had planned to do a ribbon tie on the back anyway, which is what I wound up doing, but now the ribbon is actually tied all the way together and the beads are like, I think pretty much the length I want. I could make it go a little bit longer. In the cartoon, hers is a little bit longer, but I kind of like this length. I think it's going to look good with the collar and everything too, so probably going to keep it this way. I don't have to run out for the beads anymore, but I'm still thinking about running out for birds. My other option as far as birds are concerned is that I do have some little fake birds. Now, they are not a match set, obviously. I mean, this one is already blue, but he's got this lovely tail, and the birds in Cinderella didn't have a lovely tail, but I don't want to take away his lovely tail. On the flip side, though, he does not have feet. I think he had a clip, but it came unglued. I could probably glue the clip back on, but I really like that this bird, A, has a nice short tail like the ones in the cartoon, and B, it's got these wires right here, and so like I can literally just wrap the wires around and he can like sit on my finger, and he can talk, and I can, you know, listen to him and talk back to him and everything. I really like that. So I'm thinking, part of me is like, do I need two birds? Probably not, but they're always a pair in the movie. But I'm thinking I might just kind of paint him blue and have him as my prop, and that way I don't have to run out to the store tomorrow, which would be really good. And I don't have to worry about doing anything with this lovely guy's tail because, again, I like his tail. So yeah, that's my plan. Paint bird and finish swags with the bows. And then it's done, I think. I mean, I have to attach the bust bow too. That's still pinned on, and the little shoulder bows. So mostly I'm just going to be attaching a whole buttload of bows. All of these swag intersections are now stitched in place. I did leave the pin in just to mark where they are. I suppose I don't need them, but that is like the actual measurement out, which was the 12.25 inches for the most part. Right when I got around to the back, which is actually where we're looking at right now, they wound up getting a little bit bigger, so I have a few that are 12.5 inches. Obviously, my math wasn't quite right or something, or my measuring wasn't quite right, but each one of these has about like 5 stitches in there holding it together just by hand, kind of whipping through the layers. I just accordion pleated it, held it, and then stitched through it, and so that's how all that's done, and there are 14 of them in total. So I am going to call it a night now. I still have to sew on all of the bows, including this big one right here, plus the 14 that go around the skirt. I did make these little white bows. I really don't know how I feel about them. I mean, yes, it is covering the spots on the shoulder, but I don't know, maybe the spots are better than these bows. I just feel like they look really awkward. So I think I'm actually going to wait until I go to put this on. I'm hoping that one of my friends might be able to come over tomorrow to help me try it on before we do our shoot on Saturday, because it's back closing. I can't put it on myself. So I have no idea how this fits. The last time that I put this on was when I finished the Bertha. I haven't put it on since I've done anything down at the bottom of the skirt, including the hem, other than like when I marked the hem initially. So I really hope that I got everything right there. And yeah, I just don't know what that's going to look like. I'm also not 100% positive that the position of this bow is exactly where it should be. So I think I'm also going to hold off on sewing that one on until hopefully she can come over and help me. Thank you, Rachel, with this bow situation here. But I will sew all of the bows around the bottom. So that is going to be my main thing for like tomorrow earlier in the day. And then if she can come over, I'll do this. And otherwise, I'll probably just take a lot longer getting ready. It makes me so nervous that like I won't have put any of this on all together before the photo shoot, but yeah. she's all done. I feel like this project has taken me an age, but honestly, I am very, very happy with how it turned out. I think that it just kind of all came together right at the end. I mean, I think adding like the bows and all of the trimming around the skirt and everything super, super helped. And I don't know how I feel about the wig look. Like, I think it would be interesting to wear this at some point without the wig. And like, yes, it wouldn't be maybe quite as Cinderella-y, but I do think that might be fun. The bows that I made for here, I did wind up sticking one of them on here instead of that ribbon headband. And I did wind up painting the little bird, so I think he turned out super cute. He was just that yellow bird that I had before, and I painted him blue and gave him the cartoon eyes. I think that made a big difference, but I enjoyed having him as my little prop. I'd love to get like a Gus and Jack at some point. That would be really cute. But anyway, I'm super happy with how it turned out. And I think this will be a really fun one to wear to like a con or something like that, where people kind of know what it is, hopefully, especially since it's slightly more obscure, kind of like my Governor Ratcliffe. But yeah, it's finally done. Yay! Which means, of course, that next week it is time to start a new project. It's going to be another Disney project, but just a short little one. That's gonna be your hint. So anyway, I do hope that you liked this video and this series. If you've missed any of the other Cinderella videos, I will leave a link up above and also down below in the description. And if you like this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube twice a week, with my sewing vlogs like this out on Tuesdays and other costuming content out on Saturdays, but I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi accounts down below in the description. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Heidi and Sharon. Thank you all so, so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!